they've lacked the ability to be able to communicate and cultivate relationships. But I found that wealthy people don't talk about their wealth. Mm. Wealthy people don't talk about their access and their ability. Had Hitler had social media, we would have been in trouble because he would have been able to reach a massive amount of people based off of visceral feelings.
Diversified game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
My name is Randall King. I'm the Vice President of Talented Teen Club. We are in the business of empowering youth, both with at-risk youth, family in crisis, foster care kids, and kids within the community of Palm Beach and Broward County, Florida. We also want to branch off to Boston and Jamaica.
Diversified game. Learn how entrepreneurs started, sustain, and succeed. Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have Mr. Randall King, Chief King. That's like double titles, right? From the Talented Teen Club, he is going to give us the game on what it is to be a father, biologically and adopting kids, as well as adopting a whole community. And this is after a service of military service and real service, like boots on the ground, the stuff that people don't want to talk about, so they write about it. And yes, he has a book, and you can check it out on Amazon or anywhere that they're selling books. But let us get some game in all this talk today, where we hear about high value man and what you need to be looking for in a woman and all these crazy things of somebody who's actually nourished real relationships. He's married to an amazing woman. He has amazing children, and they are just nice. So welcome to Diversified Game. Let's get into it. Let's start with the children.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. So I have 7 children, 1 biological and 6 adopted. I am married twice. And so my first wife had 2 children, which I adopted. And then I have my second marriage, which I adopted 2 more. Prior to that, I had adopted 2 children.
On your own?
On my own.
On
by
your own.
myself.
How hard is that for a man to adopt children?
For me, it was very easy.
Really?
I didn't have a problem with doing it.
Well, how long was the process?
Very quick. They needed a home. They needed a father. They needed a forever home and a process in order for them to be able to feel comfortable. I was available. I did it.
So quick, I saw, I told you I've worked with the different children from CPS to psych to group homes. I've never seen that we've never been able to have a kid where the full process is done. It's always like get them in the home and then they'll see, but it's always been a long process.
Well, I was sitting on the board of Family Services of Metro Orlando at the time, which was a lead agency in Orlando. So I was already pre-approved. I already went through the classes for foster care and adoption. Mm-hmm. So if I found somebody, it was very quick for me. The first child I knew was already in the foster care system and was already in a foster care home. And she came to me because I am a coach and I coach track and field, and she happened to run track, and that's how we kind of met. Mm-hmm. And so it was just a very holistic fit. Brandon was a different situation. Single mother household. She was having a hard time controlling both kids. He's a twin, and she just made the decision that she needed some help, and Brandon was just a good fit for us.
Okay. Now, when you get children and then you raise them to adulthood, I got an issue. already with letting go. Like I'm like,
that's the easy part.
That's the easy part. Yeah,
that's the easy part. That's the easy part.
Okay.
I think because in my rearing with my own family, my own biological family, when I turned 18, actually when I was 16, they kind of let me do what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had children, I already had in my head formulated that once they hit 18, 16 years old, they can make their own decisions. My job was really just to be a support system, to be there for them if they needed me. Beyond that, make their own decisions.
Okay, I told you. I keep telling you every time I see you, it's the disconnect, because we were off the porch even before then, able to do what we wanted to do, but it was a different time.
Yeah.
And things were just, simple. It was, okay, you're going to get on the bus or you're going to get on the train, and it's all good. Nowadays, you do that, you could be looking at a CPS case, depending on how old it is, and it's ridiculous when you work for CPS and you hear, oh, there's a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old playing across the street at the park, and you're like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
And you're in Texas of all places.
No. I really want them to be able to feel comfortable to make their own decisions. You know, my wife and I have some conflict with that because she says I should be more active in their day-to-day life. And my thing is that I should allow them to be who they want to be without my interference.
Okay.
And that if they feel comfortable enough to ask me what they need to do, or what they're thinking to do, or what my opinion is, that's when they should talk to me.
Okay. And before you were doing that, though, I mean, you've gone to Tufts University, you got your education, you've also gone to real war, because you do know there are some people who are like, well, you know, I was in Panama in the 83, and they have all their gear on, some false valor. How do you transition from veteran to education to take care of kids?
I mean, I started off as a student athlete in high school, and I was an All-American, and then I went off to college. Started off at University of Maryland, right? And I have to put that in there because University of Maryland did a very good job of cultivating me as a student, as a person, as a human being. Because I came in with a lot of deficiencies academically because my high school didn't do a very good job. And University of Maryland put in a lot of time, money, and effort and resources to get me up to speed, especially with in regards to English and speaking and just understanding. I spent 2 years there and I loved it, but it was just too large of a university for me. I couldn't stay there any longer because I didn't see myself being able to be developed in such a large institution. I love the coaching staff. I love my teammates, but I had to leave. So I transferred to Villanova, smaller university. We're talking 40,000 to 5,000. Christian, more intimate. Professors walk the campus. You know them. They know you.
You have to go to chapel?
You had to go to chapel once a week.
That's how mine was.
Yeah, you had to go to chapel once a week. And you had to sign in. And you had to take 3 religious studies classes in order to graduate.
Yeah.
But these were all good things that I needed in order for my development to continue. And so Villanova was very, very good for me. And it was part of my maturation of being the individual that I wanted to be, the individual that I needed to be in order for me to move on. I did ROTC, and so when I knew when I was going to graduate, I was going to continue to compete in track and field, but I was going to continue with my military career at the same time. But when my athletic career ended, it was military. All the way, shape, and form. So when you say boots in the ground, there are some things I can discuss, and some things I can't discuss.
I want them to get your book, to get the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because the raw story, they got to get it from the book.
Yeah.
They got to read the book and see that. But when I say boots on the ground, it's you really saw action. Like I have someone, well, I almost said too much, and the old audience would know. But I had somebody, or I know people who they've been excommunicated out of the military by trying to get into the action. Like their job might have not have been that, but they've, jumped on a plane when they weren't supposed to end up in Djibouti so they could feel like I have a story to tell when I'm out here. Because I did not know people join the military just so they can hear all the veterans and so they can step up. Like they want the accolades so bad. And you had the real, and everyone who I've known, even from my uncles who really served prior to Vietnam, don't ask me about that. And don't ask anybody else about what we did anywhere. I have Uncle Calvin. He had the Nazi helmet sitting in this thing. Growing up, we're kids. Don't ask him about that. He has that art, but that's not what they want to talk about. Yeah. And so that's what I say. If you really want, the people who really want action, somehow, why don't they ever get it? They never find it.
When we met, I don't think you knew that I was a veteran.
No.
I think for the most part, I don't talk about it. But when it's push to come shove and we get to know one another, it'll come out. Mm-hmm. I love my time in service. Mm-hmm. I love what I did. Mm-hmm. I believed in what I did. I think it was necessary. But it's not something that I can legally discuss on a day-to-day basis.
Would you recommend young people to follow and join the military?
If you believe that your service is in concert with the protection of the people that live within the United States, and that you are protecting the Constitution, yes. If no, don't do it. If some recruiter comes to you and says, well, you're going to make X amount of dollars and you're going to have all these benefits, run.
Okay.
Because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get anything. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stipulations to what you can and cannot get with those benefits. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. You have to believe in the cause in order to join the military and be successful.
For you to believe in the cause, do you have to believe in the leader giving the directions? Because it's like marriage. Some people think, I want to be married until they get in it. And they say, I thought marriage was going to be something else. And I'd have my meals cooked for me every day.
You have to be willing to accept that there is a hierarchy beyond you and that you're going to just follow your orders.
Okay.
Blindly. You have to believe that they know something that you don't know, and you're willing to accept the fact that you're doing the greater good. Period. And if you can't believe that, don't do it. I personally believed it. I've been blessed to work both at the command level and at the Pentagon level. And so I know that there are 2 different levels of communication and understanding and information. And so I know that what people will see down at the company and command level are not the same things as what they would see at the Pentagon level. And sometimes you just have to lean on faith.
Okay. Well, that hierarchy, and now that we have AI and we have things like deep fakes, and everybody's a boss online, everybody's a philanthropist, everybody is rich until you ask them for some money. Where do you see us going with technology and how that's going to? Because it's like, can anybody follow? Everybody's a boss. Everyone's a leader already coming out the womb.
I think that's a pretty easy thing to kind of figure out because anybody can say anything like you said, but not everybody can do what they say. And so it's people's actions that you really have to look at, not what people's verbiage that you're looking at. Donald Trump says that he is one of the wealthiest men in the world. But what is he actually doing to validate those statements?
Saying it again.
Yeah, you look at someone like the gentleman that owns the Dallas Mavericks,
Mark Cuban.
You never hear much about him. He's probably, and I'm guessing, probably one of the top 5 or top 6 wealthiest men in the world. He's influential, but he sees no need in having that discussion.
Hello everyone! Join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon, the heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature, and traditions from Yaoundé Market to rainforest adventures. Every page na new discovery. Join the Cameroonian food, music, and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and through your library and bookstores via Ingram's Park. Don't miss this adventure.
When I was in high school, I was blessed enough to be mentored by a family on the other side of Boston. And they were white, and they were wealthy. And I didn't know how wealthy they were. They didn't tell me. I didn't ask. I learned later on in years, as I grow older, how wealthy they were. But I found that wealthy people don't talk about their wealth. Wealthy people don't talk about their access and their ability. They either do or they don't. And this particular family felt the need, because they saw something in me to cultivate, that they would help. And I became a part of their family. And that's my reference point for people of wealth. So I know the difference between actually wealthy people and wealthy people that think that they're extremely wealthy.
I need you guys to rewind that whole part back, because in a day where you can go on a social media platform and hear someone tell you get 5 cars so you can put them on Turo, do Airbnb arbitrage, and then you can go buy your own Lamborghini with this, and you're like, hold on. This is not how any wealthy person or even a rich person has ever drove a Lamborghini or go get 5 credit cards so you can then go first class, and just the lying that people do. And you never hear them talk about healthcare. You never hear them talk about retirement.
I don't even know it's so much of lying as it is that they just I don't know, they just delusionally see themselves bigger than they are. This particular family, and I will name them, is the Haleys. And they just were just a great family. I love them to death. They never showed me anything other than love and commitment, but they always drove Toyotas. They had a very modest home. The mother didn't work. The father did. They had 4 boys. Who does that? Unless, at the time, you don't really think about it. You're like, okay, well, it's just the Haleys. But you really don't think of how wealthy they had to be in order to live the lifestyle that they lived. And later on, as I grew older and I found out exactly what the father did for a living, I'm like, my gosh. But that's the beauty of it. They didn't see the need in telling me who they were and what they were. They just wanted to help me. That's all they wanted to do. They wanted to empower me to be the best me that I could be. I loved it.
That's so, and some people think, well, how does that help you now? Did they hook you up with a job or a position or
knowledge?
Knowledge.
There's a saying in Jamaica. I can teach you how to fish, or I can give you the fish. I'd rather be taught how to get the fish than give me the fish. Because if you teach me how to get the fish, then I can continue to feed myself. If you give me the fish, I'm always going to come back and ask for more. They taught me how to fish. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like a pinpo game nowadays where people wanna. I'll teach you how to fish, but I still need to have you on a hook. And any fish you get, I need a piece of that. Like it's some MLM. And even inside the church, I think Tim Ross said it's like a holy. It's like a holy MLM. I can't do it the way he said it, but it's like if you hook up and get 5 friends, then and it's like, hold on, is this how things are supposed to work? Or am I just supposed to show you how I did it? And that's the purpose of this show. What did I do? How did I do it? Why did I do it? And the connections along the way. And if you don't get something in this show, you go read the person's book when they read it. I keep pushing the book. Links will be in the description.
Yeah, please.
You go get the book so you can hear more details, because even what you guys do now is just take youth, and I've seen the results. When we first moved here a few years ago, I said, I'm seeing a pharmacist who said she went through this program. This is a grown woman. Mm-hmm. This is a woman who I'm trying to see if she's single. So I got a friend who's single. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean 18 years ago? And then I'm looking at your wife like 18 years ago. Where were you? Yeah. So with the Talented Teen Club, and that's your community give back. And that's my signature question. What, do you see your role? Because you're vice president. A lot of men might have a problem being vice president.
Been there, done that.
How'd you get over that? Help somebody right now be able to fall back.
I've been in corporate America for a number of years. And so I've been a staff accountant, a senior manager, a director of finance, a CFO. Mm-hmm. And so I've had the luxury of being cultivated in a corporate environment because I have the bachelor's from Belmont, I have the master's from Tufts. I know what that's like to have that corporate power. I don't need that to validate who I am. Mm. Maybe it's just me. And so my wife is the president of Talented Teen Club. My wife makes the decisions for Talented Teen Club, and I'm well okay with that. She understands and empowers me to do the things that I do best, and that's just how we operate. It's not that big of a deal. I think because I know who I am and I know what I've accomplished, that it's easier for me to be able to do that.
Do you have a chapter in the book just talking about that?
I don't.
So now you got to write another book.
The book goes over my. And to answer your question, yes, I need to write a sequel. The book goes over my childhood and how I overcame both racism, being multiracial, being a student athlete, and overcoming all of those obstacles to get to college. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted people to understand that being in the inner city and being misrepresented was not your death sentence. That you could empower yourself to go on. Someone dropped something on me the other day. We are not, how do they put it to me? You are not a culmination of your environment, but of your actions and your decisions. And so the decisions I made is that I was not going to be the kid on the street slinging rock or doing drugs or in gangs. I made the decision that I was going to cultivate my athletic ability along with my academic ability and move on and beyond that.
Okay. This topic is so important because you probably bypass all the mess of high value and what men and women are looking for in relationships online. But it is stupidity because you have all these single people talking about what could be, should be. But even in marriage, right? And when I would watch a Kevin Samuels, someone I knew, he consulted with me a time or two before he blew up. People say, and even my wife has asked, you get more excited about other people's dreams than your own things. And even with her, say, you got to do your thing. Don't just focus on me. But I say, you are me. And after me, I want you to keep going and going. So, of course, what we're doing, I'm going to put all my time that I can afford to outside of everything else I'm doing. And To me, that's how it should be. And if everyone was like that, the world would be a whole different place.
I relationships are a little bit different, especially nowadays. I mean, I was born in the 60s. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have the cell phones. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the internet. Mm-hmm. We had clubs, community centers, parks, school, and friends. That's how we interacted. Mm-hmm. These kids interact by the cell phone and the internet, Facebook and Instagram and whatever else they're doing.
Yeah.
They've lacked the ability to be able to communicate and cultivate relationships. So how they meet their significant others and how I do it was entirely different. The other things is I'm very prudish. I know people see the dreadlocks and they see the beard and they see the color and they think one thing, but I'm extremely conservative. I believe that women should dress a certain way. I believe that men should act a certain way. And I think that we have specific roles biblically that we need to adhere to. And these kids are kind of like all over the wind. They kind of blow like the flowers. The leaf blows over here and the kids follow with it. And that's just not how I operate. I have my own children and we talk about it all the time. They don't know how to be able to communicate and do conflict management. We had to learn that. So I'll give you a prime example. If I had a conflict with a kid in 8th grade, I would tell him, I'm going to meet you down at the park after school, and we're going to have a fight. Yeah. And we're going to iron it out. Yeah. And once we iron it out,
we're friends.
Everything's done. Yeah. Or we just make the decision that we're not friends and we're just not going to talk anymore. These kids have a conflict. They don't meet at the park. They go to the car, they get a gun, and they blow someone's brains out. Where's the conflict interest in that? There's no conflict resolution. There's no discussion. There's no reasoning. There's nothing. There's just anger, escalation, death.
Then prison, jail, because you got caught, because ballistics and all that is great too. So, yeah. So is it the breakdown of the family, or is it just relationships, whether, family or not, just people don't know how to talk and engage anymore?
What we see in Talented Teen Club is that we have young parents, 16, 17, 18 years old, having children, and not being raised in a structural, complex, educational family, raising children. So how can they raise children if they have not been raised properly?
Okay, wait, but what the breakdown is, my grandmother and other people's grandmother had their first child at 12, 13.
Yeah, that's a different bracket.
And had businesses at, by the time...
That's a whole different bracket. My father did not have a high school diploma. So I'm going to repeat myself. My father did not have a high school diploma and was biracial and was trying to figure out his own identity. But he could speak in Latin and write in Latin and knew that his responsibility was to take care of his kids. There's a part in the book that I don't want to give away because I would love people to get it, which is The Color of Hate by Randall King. You can buy it on any platform online. There's a part in our lives where he could no longer support his household. And that was devastating to him. These kids nowadays, they don't even think to take care of their households. It's not even a thought in their brain. To my father, it was catastrophic. It was life-changing. It was life-altering. These kids would be like, okay, well, what's the problem? You don't need to be formally educated to understand that you have a responsibility to your family. You don't need to be formally educated to understand that there are roles that need to be adhered to. So I hope I answered that question.
You did. I look at it and I said, okay, my grandmother did have 2 husbands and they both passed, But I said, is that the only difference that we could keep a family together? And my grandmother, she's still alive to this day. She said, there are things that you do that when you go out, there's things that you don't do. And she said, make sure before y'all go down south, you get the background of everybody's information. Because your grandfather had one heck of a time from Arkansas all the way up to California. My joke is he might have populated many of those.
The whole county.
Yeah. So it's in the back of the mind. Okay. Get people's backstory when we would go down to Grambling and get everyone's story because you don't know. And there's some people to this day, I'm like, we might be family. And now through Ancestry, and I told you, I've met, so many family members now because of that. But it's like the breakdown of the family. Is it the breakdown of just, are we fish out of water now and we are acting like,
Social media really has deteriorated who we are as a people. And I don't just mean black people, I just mean people in general.
There's books on it.
People in general. Social media has really corrupted how we interact and how we raise our kids. And how we communicate. And it's just so sad. I think I told you earlier, I had a discussion with a gentleman who was a Trump supporter. And his ability to be able to communicate and articulate why he was a Trump supporter had no basis of fact. Because he just couldn't get out of this, the visceral, I love him kind of a thing. And that's social media at its best. Had Hitler had social media, we would have been in trouble because he would have been able to reach a massive amount of people based off of visceral feelings. He did what he did just on a mic. Yeah. God knows what he would have done on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. These kids just don't know how to communicate with one another.
What are you putting in them? And what can the rest of us put in them that we're lacking? Because like you eat dinner with me, it better not be a phone at the table. It better not be a phone at the table. Unless you got a business. And I could understand and respect that. But since most kids don't have a business, don't put a phone at the table, what can we put in them to say, to get that back? Because even adults now, everyone's just kind of in their phone.
They're locked in. I think one of the biggest things, and I like to do it in my own home, is that when you walk through the door, there's got to be a grace period where you just put the phone in a basket. And it's 2 hours of no cell phone, no internet, no nothing. And we're just having an interpersonal communication amongst us organically. And I think that helps. I just fasted for 21 days prior to Easter from my church. And one of my fast precepts was to stay off social media. I didn't realize how much I actually go on my phone and click subconsciously to social media. And I would catch myself sometimes and say, oh my gosh, I'm on social media, let me get off it real quick. I think we've become so pre-programmed to get on these things that we don't even think of how many hours, seconds, and minutes that we're on social media. How much time we waste pre-programming our brain to think something other than reality. And so I think that would be the biggest things, to get off social media. The second thing would be to create some level of interpersonal reactions or communications with your family, your kids, significant others, whether it be going to the park, taking a 1 hour walk, going to the museum, I don't even say going to a movie, because when you go to a movie, you just watch a movie, you don't talk. You need something to go to talk. One of the things that I tell my wife I like to do is play games, board games. Because when you play a board game like a Scrabble, it forces you to have interaction and talk. No cell phone, no nothing. It's just you, the board game, and your significant
And
other.
argue.
And argue. But guess what? You're having an interaction. And Scrabble, if you've played Scrabble, could be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours long. But now you have 3 hours of communication where it's nothing but you and she, or you and she and he. And I think that's priceless. That's priceless. I love the games, personally. My wife likes to take the walks. I like the games.
I like games. Monopoly is my game, undefeated, unless it's Kenyan Monopoly. And yes, Olive, I know you beat me in that. But the regular Monopoly I like. Scrabble with Tina, I don't play because she's a genius. And she'll bring up a word that I'm like, what type of medical term? But it's illegal. Okay, I don't know. Or some old British English word or French,
You don't want to play with me.
Okay. We might have to do that. Y'all, I will play until y'all go back in, because y'all will have a fun time. We're gonna have to put that on the book.
You don't want to play with me.
I don't, but she loves that game. Yeah, she loves that game.
I love Scrabble.
Yeah, I said, what type of
Love Scrabble. Love it.
You know.
Love it. And it's just great. And I think that people have lost those things. You know, when I was a kid, it was you come home from school, you change your clothes, and your mother tells you to go to the park.
Yeah.
Tells you to come home when the lights come out.
Yeah.
It's not you go on your phone. It's not that you go on the internet.
Yeah.
It's go to the park and play, and I'll see you in a couple of hours when dinner is ready. And we've lost those things.
Are kids? You're dealing with athletes all the time with track. Are kids still doing it where they're so laser focused?
No, they're horrible.
Really?
Oh, they're horrible.
Because we played like that after school at the park.
No, they're horrible. They have no level of commitment. They don't know how to deal with stress management or difficulties. So if they have a bad time and they're not performing at a high level, like they're normal, they don't know how to handle that. They don't know how to reconcile that difficulty. I think with us, when I'll be 60 in January, and I think that when I was a kid, we just learned to deal with adversity. These kids have no idea what adversity is.
Is that our fault as parents by making things so?
No, I just think it's society.
Okay.
I just think it's technology. It's how we've changed. People thought that embracing technology was good for not only for them but for their kids and for the upliftment. What we didn't realize is how adversely this would affect our children and their growth.
Okay.
And that's the bad thing. And now that we know that, we need to reverse those things. Technology is great, but it's not the greatest thing for raising our children.
Okay.
We need to eliminate that from raising our children.
I learned how to break into houses. Not that I've ever broken anyone except ones that I've lived in. But when you lose your key, when you have the shoestring around the neck, and you lose your key, and you got to get home, and your parents ain't coming home anytime soon. So you learn how to shivvy up and slide through a bathroom. You say, okay, so but then 20 years later,
them kids can't do that now.
They can't. You find a way, in.
They would stay outside.
I had neighbors like that in Seattle, and I'll help them break in.
No, they would stay outside.
But we had to. I say, okay, look, I'm gonna hair you up, but you got to put your sister, because these were almost 18-year-old. And I said, I ain't getting too close. They can't do it. And I tried, and I said, I don't know how to.
No, they'd stay outside. They sit out and wait and just say, I'll wait for mommy and daddy to come home. No, but you can break in to get in. Yeah. No, I'll wait for that. They don't. It's hard for them to conceptualize that.
Wow.
It's almost sad when you think about where our kids. Now here's the problem. I hate to put it this way, but white kids or kids of affluence, whether they're white or black, are never going to fall into those kind of holes, because a family always has the money and the resources to be able to educate their children. It's the children that don't have the resources, white, black, Chinese, or otherwise, that are going to fall through the holes because they don't have the means to be able to educate them beyond that. So now they've got the internet. Mothers are working, mothers or fathers or both parents are working 40, 50, 60 hours. They're not home. And the only thing they have is the internet. Now they've become disassociated with reality. They're not talking to people. They don't know how to reason because they know only to punch in a question in the internet and the internet gives it back to them. I'll give you a prime example. So my son has a bachelor's degree and he's extremely bright and he has his own business. But when he does his accounting for his business, he does everything online. But he has no idea what the backdrop of that is. See, I was taught in the one right system. So people my age will know what the one right system is. And so we know how to do double accounting entry, debit and credit, and we know how to do a trial balance, and we know how to do all those things. I mean, the trial balance goes into a balance sheet, which even goes into a statement of conditions, and et cetera, et cetera. My son
How to do
doesn't.
the checks and balances.
He doesn't know how to do that. He sees the back. He sees the end numbers on the computer, and he says, "Oh, that's great." But doesn't know how the backdrop communicates to get those numbers. And he can't functionalize because he's grown up in this internet world. If the computer drops tomorrow, I still know how to do a financial statement. These accountants now would not know how to do that because they're so reliant on the computer to do all that backdrop information for them.
Okay, you got me thinking. Because we had a toilet go out the other night. And I hear, Daddy, we need to get this, this, and this. And I look at it, and I said, no, all we need is a paper clip. Give me a paper clip.
No, they can't do that.
Because it's the same thing. We don't need to go buy this whole kit right now, just for the time being. And that paper clip is still on there.
No, they can't do that.
Because that's all that we need. We didn't need the whole kit.
No, because it enacts you to have some critical thinking. These kids don't have critical thinking. The computer has eliminated critical thinking from a child's or an adult's mind. People my age, that's all we know. We don't know anything else. So it's easy for us. You're considerably younger than I am, but if you've been raised in a family where that was cultivated, then you're good. If you weren't, you're gonna have problems.
I had to sit with the old people, and I would just listen.
Oh, the old people like me.
The old, well, no, they were older than you, and we'd have to sit, we'd have to listen. You couldn't talk though, because the children would be, seen and not heard.
You can't talk to me, then you're sitting in the room.
That's why I didn't get you up. Yeah. But no, that okay. So when you write your next book, or is there a program inside the Talented Teen Club when kids come that you're able to pull that out and get some of that?
Well, I actually advocate for kids that come into Talented King Club to read the book only because I want them to understand that not only do I understand where they're coming from, that my childhood and my childhood stressors are equal to yours or not greater, so I understand where you're coming from. I've written the book so that people who are my peers by age understand that people of color and people of color that are of mixed race like myself can understand that there are complexities to our rearing that they could never understand and that they need to understand in order to be able to communicate with us. And so that was the reasoning, that was the rationale for the book. The next phase of the book is to communicate how I matriculated in college and after college, because this first book only touched upon my childhood and getting to college. The next one will be in college and how I matriculated after college. And there have been some difficulties, some of which have been with me understanding my own identity. Some of it was just the fact that people look at my color and automatically assume certain things. I've only had the dreadlocks for 4 years, and I've seen considerable amount of looks with that, and not knowing who I am and what I am, both educationally and prior from both military. I retired as a lieutenant colonel, and then my corporate career, my last position was director of accounting for North America, CIBC National Bank. So when you look at me, that's not what you see.
Yeah, if your mind is in a certain way and you ain't never seen anybody like that.
Right.
But even like with the locks, when you cut it, and
I ain't cutting my locks.
When I told Joel I cut it, there's certain players, I love your new look. And it's always black folk. Nobody else. Asian man, Hispanic man, white man, never cared. You do good business, you're gonna, I love your new look. And I say, interesting. But it's always been like that because I've always had an afro or something, and I cut it when I want it. I do what I want to do with my hair because I'm willing. I mean, it might have cost me money, but it's okay. I have freedom.
No, this is going to be until I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
locks down to my knees.
Okay, even if you get the Stevie Wonder
No, locks down to my knees.
Okay, and that's what someone asked Snoop Dogg. Said he gonna do the Stevie Wonder if it, but
it's gonna be down here.
Okay, well that's good. With what would you say for young men who are talking about, and they're looking for relationships? Somebody asked me this recently on a podcast. I'm gonna try to tell them they need to come talk to you. What would you tell them to look for in a wife?
I think that would be difficult because I think my interpretation is going to be so vastly different than them.
They don't know, like you said, they have no clue.
Well, no, it's funny because I was having a conversation with a young lady that I mentor, and she's 23, and she's celibate, and she said she would like to stay celibate until marriage, and I said that's a great aspiration. You should want to do that. My thing is, if you are a male and you meet a female and she's willing to have sex with you today, tomorrow, or next week, you don't want her. Because chances are she's done that with 5, 6, 7, or 8 other men. Every time you have sex with somebody, you give a piece of your soul away. Well, if you had sex with 40 men, then you've given up 40% of your soul away. How do I want that? Why would I want that? I know that sounds kind of prudish, and it sounds like a little crazy, but I honestly don't want anything to do with that. I want to know that when someone gives themselves to me, they're giving themselves to me, not themselves and 50 other people. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is that they are rooted in some level of faith. I don't care if it's Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism. I just honestly don't care. But you are rooted in something that you cannot blow in the wind. Because if you're not rooted in something, the wind's going to blow, and just like a leaf, you're going to blow off to the wind. You have to know where you come from, where you want to go, and who you want to go with. And you wouldn't know that if you're not rooted in some level of faith, in my opinion. So I think that's the second thing. The third thing would be to have a like-minded ideal of where you want to go, both short-term and long-term. So when I made the decision to get married again, because this is my second marriage, I had made the decision that I was looking for someone who had their own life, was independent, didn't care if they had children or didn't have children, and was driven by their own success and needs, or needs and success. And so therefore we could coexist in the same environment and we could grow from that. And I think what I know now as a nearly 60-year-old man would have greatly assisted me as a 22-year-old man. But I was 22. I mean, what was I supposed to know? And my parents did the best they could with giving me the tools that I needed. They had their own flaws. They had their own issues. I understand that, and I don't condemn them for it. But they could only teach me what they had.
Yeah. Now, You guys, that's a whole series. That's like a whole.
Well, that's the reason why you get the book. You get the book, you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because it goes into all that.
But you know, before certain people, before Kevin Samuels passed, people said, Kevin, why don't you think about doing a book like that? I said, no, you got to be at a certain age, and you have to be at a certain level to be able to sow into that, because relationships can be hard, but I can't do like this person. I'm doing life with this person. There is no nothing. I got to do life with you. So because we chose to do life, and to be honest, when I would tell people my crazy ideas before her, people would say, you're crazy.
But you are crazy.
Yeah, but it's a good crazy. I manage it. I got to find someone who's as crazy and can match it, because the ideas that I have, some of them haven't been done by people. Some of them haven't been done like people who look like us. Mm-hmm. Some of them have been done, but we want to remix and put our own thing. I want to homeschool my kids. People say, "Why would you want to homeschool?" I don't want the society. I want them to be really done at 16, because I don't think that from middle school to high school you learn that much more if you're reading independently. If you're really focused, and my mother made us read, you have to read these books. It's not a question. You have to play your violin or your saxophone, even if you're terrible. So if you're going to just learn the same thing and then go to college and learn the same thing, why not just be done and get college credit for it? Because college is there to test you. School is there to test you. It's not really there to teach you.
I agree.
You got to learn on your own. Look in the Cliff Notes and say, hey, that's where they got that from.
Well, I did learn a lot at Villanova. I mean, I became a really functional adult at Villanova.
Okay.
They did such a phenomenal job of creating a really wholesome man, prepared for the world. And I have to give Villanova a big shout out for that. They instilled a lot of fundamental moral and character building things in me that still last to this day. Do I somewhat agree that it is a testing model school after 16 or 17 years old? Yeah, but there's a lot to be learned at a good institution. There are some institutions that do anything but collect a paycheck. But there's some institutions, like there's some HBCUs out there that do a phenomenal job with our community to really empower our kids to become great. I love Hampton. I love Bethune-Cookman. I love Florida A&M.
You haven't been to Grambling yet?
No. I love Grambling.
Okay.
I haven't sent a kid there. I would love to. I love Grambling. I love Tuskegee. I love Spelman. I have a cousin that went to Spelman. I love all of those institutions. They just do a phenomenal job of preparing us to be great. And the great thing about those institutions that I just mentioned, they will not allow us to fail. You go to Michigan State and you're black, you fail, they just wave. At Grambling, if they think you're failing, they're going to pull you into the class and say, look, dude, we got to figure this out because you can't keep doing this. And I love that about our HBCUs. I don't like it. I love it about our HBCUs. They will not allow us to fail.
And us won't allow us, because even if you are failing, someone in the class, you want to study, and y'all who are listening, when you're looking for your wife, when you're sitting in class in your front row and they say, can I study with you? Can I come over on 11?
Oh, you run with that.
You're the smartest person in the class. You're like, hold on. With my 1.9 GPA in high school that I graduated with and was told in college in Kansas, you know, you're going to have to sit out. To come to Grambling and have a 3-point something and say, wait, you want to study with me? You know.
Great place.
It does
not a
something.
good place. Great place. I listen. You know, in hindsight, now at 60, I wish I had gone to an HBCU.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I haven't done bad with where I went, but knowing what I know now, HBCUs would have really cultivated me to another level.
Okay.
I really think so.
Well, it's never too late, because with the Talented Teen Club and I'll say this for Palm Beach and all of South Florida, I don't understand how certain organizations are not pulled in and say, look, we know we're going to have a crime problem this summer. Mm-hmm. What can y'all do for us right now? Because I've seen it happen in Massachusetts where they came to the Phoenix Academy and, the crazy ideas that I'm talking about, but because I'm walking 8 or 12 drug addicts to the hockey game down the street, just down the street, or taking them to BET, somebody came and said, what can y'all do for us? Because we see you have the staff that cares. And it was a group effort of people willing to help.
But you have to understand that Boston is a different environment because we're in a city with extremely educated, cosmopolitan people.
Some of the smartest, most educated people
are in Boston.
Yeah.
It's just a great city. And we're in Florida. I hate to say it, it's just not the same. We don't get the notoriety or the desire to work with us as much. We have gotten DJJ starting to refer kids to us. And when I say us, I mean Talented Teen Club. Can we help them? Yes. Do we have the resources to help them? Yes. Because the biggest thing with a kid who's in need, they just want to be loved. Yeah. That's really it. If you love a kid and you're committed to a kid and you're consistent with a kid, they're going to shine. Yeah. It's funny because my wife and I always say, people always ask us about the youngest three, which is, the youngest three is 26, 25, 24. And so most know those three. And so they ask, why are they so put together? And that's between myself and my ex-wife and my current wife. Listen, the one thing we all had an agreement within the three of us, education, social behavior, excellence. We loved them and we were committed to them. And they blossomed from there. But when you have a parent that's working 50, 60 hours and is uneducated themselves and doesn't know how to help them, what are you going to get?
A mess, and then you get a community to help clean up the mess. But at what age do people need to take accountability? Because we got 40-plus-year-old people saying, well, my mom, it's because of my mother, it's because of my father, it's because of somebody else, and not taking extreme ownership.
If I want to answer your question correctly, if you've not reached a kid by the time they're 12, it's going to be difficult to reverse the effects of their trauma. Okay. It has taken, like I said, I'm nearly 60. It's taken me until I was 50 to really understand the traumas that I received as a youth. And this was from parents who really tried. Okay. This wasn't even parents that were absent. My parents were in the house, but I had a lot of trauma that I had to unpack. And then you take that trauma, and then you go to the military, and you do combat, and then you have that trauma, and then that compounds the trauma, and then you have to unpack all of that as an adult. It's a lot. So now you have these kids with this trauma, and most people that have trauma don't know that they have trauma. And now they're adults, and they're acting out, and they really don't know where is this coming from. It takes another strong partner or another person to kind of tell you, okay, this is not normal. You need to really address these issues. I would I would have to go back to 12.
You say 12. At what point do you think it could be too late? Because you said at 50.
Too late. There's never too late. Okay. It's never too late. It's never too, like I said, I didn't really address my traumas until I was well in my 30s. It's never too late to address your traumas. It is more difficult as you get older, because as an adult, you see yourself as a functioning person. You're working, you have a mortgage, you have a house, you have a family. So you're looking at me and you're saying, I don't have a problem. What do you mean, what's the problem? I'm functioning okay. And so it's very difficult to convince the person who's functioning but has trauma and is deficient in a lot of things. That was me. That definitely was me. It's easier if you're younger and you can kind of direct them when they're 12 or a little bit younger, because you can force them to address their issues before they become adults and they think that they're functional. I would say 70% of the adult population has some level of trauma-related dysfunction, and they don't know it.
Is there anything that could have helped or someone said to you to make you work on it sooner?
For me personally, not in my situation. I mean, the Haleys really tried. So let me back up. So the Haleys came to my life because I went to high school with their son, and he played sports with me, and he continued to invite me to his house innocently. We just got along. And as a kid of color, I'm thinking something wrong with this. This don't make no sense. I don't want to go to these people's house. I don't know these white people. I don't know them. Knowing that I have white people in my family, but it still just didn't resonate with me. Yeah. And so I reluctantly declined for a number of months. And then one time I clearly remember this, it was the winter. It was after a sporting practice. It was cold as hell, and I had no means to get home. Parents were not home. There was no food in the fridge, and Mrs. Haley came to pick up her son and offered me a ride. And so instead of going straight home, I went to their house, and they fed me, and then they dropped me off at home. And that's how the relationship kind of started. I was like, well, maybe they're not all that bad. Mrs. Haley put to my mother that they would, after about 6 months, 7 months, and they kind of understood who I was and what my situation was, that I could come live with them permanently. They weren't going to adopt me. They were going to take me from my parents. I was just going to live there so that they could kind of help me kind of progress. My parents declined. I understand why they declined. I was their kid. But had I gone to live with the Haleys, yeah, I would have progressed a lot better.
Okay.
But no one could kind of see holistically where that was going to go. My parents were prideful. They wanted to take care of their kid. The Haleys saw this kid that they could help. They definitely could have drastically changed the course of where I am. But listen, I'm a Villanova graduate with a Tufts Master's. You do all that bad. Could I have done better? Yeah.
Yeah, but you could also have done worse, because you never know you never know what, like, one little change, because the best drugs are at the private schools. The best drugs are, the best parties and everything have some of the syphilis and HIV waiting for you. I mean, and this is when you try to tell young men, I know you want to be, we all want to be higher than where we are. Yeah. But gotta give you as much as you can handle. My prayer is always, give me as much as I can handle, so I don't OD on my own ego or whatever. Think I did something that hasn't been done. King Tut.
Yeah. I mean, and all of those things come into play. So I mean, we're going to go back to the 12-year-old, and could someone have said or done something to change my outlook? Yes. But given the situation, it would have been very difficult. And I think when I look at kids that we mentor through Talented Teen Club, I have to look at it at that lens. What can I do for this child, given their family structure, to help them without intruding too much into their family structure? So, like, I have a young man right now. He's 16 years old. and he was just introduced to me just recently. And I look at the family structure. It's a single mother household, 5 children. It's a good woman, and she's trying very hard. And he was put in a very precarious position to put him in DJJ. I don't want to intrude on her because she's a good woman. Yeah. She's a good mother, but she's a little overwhelmed with the situation. And so my job at this point is to supplement what she's giving her child and be that male figure that he needs in order for him to grow and to know that he is, 1, smart, 2, can be successful, 3, that he does not need illegal means in order to do so, and help him to empower himself.
I love that. We're going to talk more about that young man and see what other avenues he's interested in. You guys, I can only give him so much game because I got to get the book. They, we can do round 2. Really what I want to see is Mr. King do his own podcast, King Podcast. I could see it right there. And then bringing on those same people.
You produce it, I'll do it.
You know what? I got a team. We're going to talk about that. Beethoven, I'm thinking about you.
You produce it.
Yeah. Okay. You guys heard that? I want you guys to make sure that you tune in, look in the descriptions, but let the people know where they can find you if they want more.
Okay. So you can find me at Talented Teen Club, www.talentedteenclub.org. You can find all our contact information, email. You can reach me there. My book can be purchased if you just go on Google and just type in The Color of Hate by Randall King. You'll see a number of places where you can purchase the book. And in that book, on the back page, there's actually a contact information. I do public speaking on both race relations and community help for youth that you can see on that website.
So you guys have gotten the game. 3 W's, talentedteenclub.org. Links are in the description. I know majority of you are listeners, but go over to the YouTube, give it some love. Make sure that you comment, make sure you like, subscribe, but most importantly, make sure you share this game. It will change somebody's life. Y'all be blessed.
Are you tired of the violence, tired of the injustice, police brutality, rampant discrimination, lack of gun control in this failed biased socioeconomic experiment called America? Or maybe you need a break from the relentless grind and want to regain control of your destiny, your wealth, your health, and your purpose. DiversifiedGame.com has the right course for you. Prepare for my first trip to Africa. Looking to reconnect with your roots, start a new business, or just a fresh start. Africa, aka the motherland, is waiting. Don't let the Chinese and the Mzungus have the fun and also take over the motherland. From Cairo to Mombasa, from Dakar to Cape Town, Africa has something for everyone, from business opportunities to the most amazing people, safety, leisure, and landscapes. The opportunities abound. It is time for the diaspora to reconnect with their roots. Time to reconnect with the birthplace of humanity. Africa is the last frontier. Get your head in the game and reclaim your legacy. The writing is on the wall. Babylon is falling. Give up the stress, grind, and violence inflicted on our people on this continent and prepare for a journey of restoration and joy by connecting with the land of your ancestors. Check out our new course and kick off your adventure at diversifiedgame.com.